And just like that, we have reached another Friday. Welcome, ISU family. It's time for the message of the week. In this beautiful Friday morning, it's gorgeous again outside, I would love to talk about the law of giving and receiving. I started talking a little bit about that law last week, but I didn't want to get distracted from the message last week, which was very important. I truly suggest you go back and re-watch that message over and over again, because it's one of the foundations that will give you sustained happiness. But let's move on to today's message. The law of giving and receiving. It's a fundamental universal law. Basically what it says is that in order to receive what you are trying to accomplish, you have to start by giving. And in fact, giving is so important in our life that it doesn't stop there. When you really start analyzing this universal law and you see how your body, your mind, your soul behaves and it operates, you will recognize that giving is one of the fundamental factors in our sustained happiness. Now, there is a different reason, different ways of giving. Most of the time we give so that we receive. But the giving that gives us the maximum amount of fulfillment, of happiness, is when you give unconditionally, when you help somebody else that cannot pay you back necessarily. That, when you start learning how to utilize that strategy in your life, you're going to start growing your fulfillment. You're going to start raising your level of awareness to a point that you're going to have consistent happiness. It has happened in my life, and it's incredible what you can do with that. Now, let's step a couple of steps back. Let's go a couple of steps back and explain what giving and receiving means. I'm going to give you an example. The law is like this. In order to receive, first you have to give. I was in our sales meeting earlier this week with the team, and Vivian started telling us about her garden, because we start our meeting with gratitude. So we say, what are we grateful for in the day that we're doing our meeting? And Vivian said, I've been building a garden. It's the first time I ever do something like that. And I've been pouring a lot of energy, a lot of love into this garden. But now my plants are growing to the point that I'm starting to receive food from my garden. So they are actually eating what she planted. And that explains perfectly the law of giving and receiving. In order for her to start enjoying the fruits of her labor, first she has to do the labor. She had to plant the seed, she had to water the plant, she had to make sure the soil is fertile, she had to make sure there were no little bugs eating the plant. She had to nurture the plant. She had to give energy, time, effort, intelligence. But guess what? Eventually, the plant matured, and then it started to grow to the point that it started giving fruits. And now she's going to have consistent receiving from something that she invested time and money and intelligence and love at the beginning. This is the same thing for everything in our lives. The problem with today's society, the problem with the way of we are thinking right now, is that we are in this mentality that we are supposed to receive, and we're supposed to get and get more and receive more without having to do anything. The people that receive without having done anything to get it, eventually they grow unfulfilled. Eventually they have a big hole in their hearts. There is a case for a lot of the kids that were born in wealthy families, and they don't get the proper education, and all they want they get without doing anything to get it. They end up ruining their lives. They end up having a drug addiction, a substance addiction, because they don't find fulfillment in their lives. Everything they can think of they receive, but they haven't given anything to get it. Therefore, there is no fulfillment. They get bored, and when they get bored, they try to find a fulfillment without knowing this basic law. And a lot of the time it's not their fault, it's their parents' fault. Maybe their parents were so busy building wealth and material possessions that they didn't give enough attention to raise their kids properly and to teach them these universal rules that I'm teaching you guys. So it's not the right way to live. The right way to live is you have to give first. You have to learn how to give first. Then you invest and you give, and then you receive. And then when you do that, you start building fulfillment and happiness. Now let's move to the law of giving and receiving on steroids. Giving unconditionally. It's so funny because I wanted to give you this conversation last week, but last week's video was even better for that time. But since I had that planted in my mind, I believe that I attracted more learnings from it, because the book that I read every morning, my positive inspirational book that I always read in the morning as part of my routine, the entire week talked about giving unconditionally. And it said a lot of examples where people come and give and the blessings they get in return. But it's more on the spiritual level. But it is incredible when you go and have a helping hand. When you give a helping hand to somebody that cannot pay you back, that is in trouble, the amount of happiness that you get in your heart, your soul, your body is incredible, guys. It has happened to me a lot of the times, to the point that when I feel that I'm not progressing in my life, when I feel that I'm not getting what I'm supposed to get, you know what I do? I go out of my way to try to help a homeless person. I go out of my way to try to see if I can give advice to somebody that needs my advice. And as soon as I start doing that, I start getting happier and my life starts to have meaning. Because we were put in this world to learn. This world is nothing else that a lifelong of learning. We start learning when we are born and we stop learning when we die. Death is our last lesson. So until we realize that, we will not be happy. So please, guys, start thinking differently. Find ways. You don't even need money to give. You can give advice. You can volunteer. You can give a helping hand. And remember, whenever you feel depressed, whenever you feel like your life has no purpose, start thinking about somebody else that might need your help. Go out of your way to help somebody else. And I guarantee you that immediately your life will start feeling better. Even in the work context, let's say a coworker is in trouble. We are software developers, we're software engineers. Imagine that you have a friend and they are in trouble, they have a problem, they have a bug they cannot fix. You're already busy with your own project. Go out of your way and help your brother, your sister, and realize how good you're gonna feel. Give it a try. Don't trust my words. Go and try it, and you'll realize how amazing it is to give unconditionally. Now I'm doing a new rule in my life. Every single day I have to do at least one thing to give unconditionally. It could be a word of advice. It could be helping a homeless person on the street. It could be just buying lunch for somebody or paying the coffee for the person behind me. Just something simple. But if you put that in your life, if you try to help unconditionally on purpose every day, you're gonna be happy every day. At the end of the day, you receive anyways, even when you're giving unconditionally. So guys, with that, I leave you. Have a beautiful weekend. Stay strong. Remember, gratitude, growth, contribution. Today, we talked about giving, which is the same as contribution. Practice it. Stay humble. Stay powerful. And I'll see you next week.